Let's get started. Welcome to my session about playbooks and metrics. My name is Marcelo Lombardo, and I will not talk about COVID, and I will not talk about the new normal. And I promise I will not waste your time ranting on how important it is to track CAC, churn, and LTV. I assume you all know that, but I expect you come out from the session with a new perspective about unit economics and playbooks. And I also expect to uncover what's the number one mistake most of the CEOs from growing SaaS companies does. So let's go. First, what a playbook is. A very simple definition is, a playbook is the set of processes and rules that you use to run your business. But not only that, it's a very special set of rules which contains the best practices from your segment or from the industry. And I know it sounds pretty static, but they are not. Playbooks, they evolve as your company does. So there's not a single playbook that can take your company across all the growth stages. Playbooks, they evolve as your company does. And to illustrate that, I will use my own company as an example. So Omie nowadays, Omie is the number one ERP in the cloud. We are 0.1 billion a year in the end of this year. Yes, I'm an optimistic guy, so I'm trying to learn how to say my numbers in billions. Last month, August, we grew like 120% over August last year. We have 300 people in the team and almost 100 franchisees all across the country. But we started in October 2013 with only 7 people, 1 intern and 6 engineers, including me. And we were targeting a very huge opportunity. In Brazil, we have 17 million small companies. And surprisingly, 90% of those companies, they don't have any software solution. And this is quite odd because in such a complicated country like Brazil, 90% of the business, they don't have an ERP software. And the answer to this question came out as our 2013 thesis. So why 90% of companies do not have an ERP solution? That's because no one has done a software that's really simple to use in the cloud at the right pricing point. And we planned to reach our clients using digital marketing. That's our very first playbook. And did it work? It's a pretty straightforward, standard, very usual playbook. Did it work? Hell yes, it worked very well. We could pay back our CAC in only 3 months. And here you can find the formula to calculate the payback in months for CAC. It's very important. But very soon, our sunny days were gone because many competitors were using the very same playbook, bidding the very same keywords in Google. And in only 6 months, we could see our CAC payback becoming 10 times worse. And the main problem was some competitors, they raised far more money than I did. And they were willing to waste as much money as it takes to buy Google for themselves and kill the competition. A real race to the bottom. And that's when you realize you are cursed. You have no money to compete with those guys. But you know what? Sometimes you may be cursed by excess of money. Because with no money, you must think alternatives and craft your own playbook. And what's the first thing you should do when you're thinking about to craft your own playbook? I think it is to be curious about your clients. And at that time, we had like 300, 400 clients. So I was calling the clients myself and try to understand them better. And I asked, do you remember where did you find us? And the client said, yes, I found you guys in Google. And do you remember word you typed it in Google to search for us? And she said, of course I do. And this is quite surprising because this must be the best client of the world. She remembers what keyword she typed in Google in order to find us 4 months ago. So that's great. And what this keyword was, and she said, oh, it's Omie. So, wait a minute. We just launched the company. How did you have the idea to type Omie? Nobody knows about us yet. And Omie, by the way, it's a word we made up a few months ago. So where came this idea to type Omie? And she replies, that's because my accountant suggested me to use Omie. So at the same moment, I'll call it the accountant and ask it, hey man, what are you suggesting Omie to your clients? And his answer was something like this, because I spend 80% less time to attend a client running Omie when compared to another client using pen and paper or spreadsheets. So it sounds like money. And by the way, in Brazil, according to the law, every company must have an accountant. There's no do-yourself accounting like in US or other countries. So as a consequence, accountants, they become a proxy to the whole addressable market. You can reach all the Brazilian companies through accountants. And here came our second playbook, our 2014 playbook. So when you increase the accountant productivity by 80%, and you also pay a commission on the top of that, what can you expect? The logical conclusion points to accountants becoming own resellers. So that's our new mission, transform 17,000 accountants in Brazil into software resellers. And it took just 3 months to this playbook to prove itself as an epic failure. Yeah, it didn't work. Why? Well, pretty simple. Accountants, they don't have a clue on how to sell accounting services. They don't know how to sell their own work. And by the way, this picture, I shoot this picture myself. I was with a regular accountant from São Paulo, Brazil. He went to the toilet, then I shoot this picture. It's real. The guy sitting on this desk, he will never become a software reseller. So we tried a different approach. Partner with the accountants as lead generators, and we, our sales team, we close the sale. And since the accountant gives us access to his portfolio and recommends us, we were able to close the sales pretty easy. It simply works. But the question now is how to scale that. Because pretty early, we could realize that the job to be done was not to scale software sales, but to scale trust. It worked because the accountant, he trusted us. And in order to gain trust in such a wide multicultural and big country like Brazil, what are you supposed to do? Well, first thing, be regional. You must have people in the ground all across the country. So people trust other people from their region. That's how things works here. And again, we did not have enough money to hire people all across the country. So what we did, we package the whole commercial process as a franchising network. And that's the story on how a company born to be 100% touchless became the largest software franchising network in Latin America. So the learned lesson in the hard way in our case was when everybody talks about a business or a playbook, the opportunity has passed. If everybody is running in all your competitors, if everybody is running the very same playbook, it will not work as expected. So again, and there's not a single playbook capable of taking you across all growth stages. So beware the playbook of the moment, as we say here in Brazil, cuidado com o playbook da modinha, because there's no silver bullet, there's no killer app. You may pick a proven playbook to start your company, but you will have to adapt, to evolve this playbook. So again, there's not a single playbook capable of taking you across all growth stages, unless you craft your own playbook. And you may be thinking, maybe this is the #1 mistake that CEOs does in the growing SaaS business, right? So, okay, but it is not. We are talking most of the time about sales playbook, but there are many different playbooks in any SaaS company. And bad news is that when you are growing, all of them seems to be failing at the very same time. That's fantastic, incredible, but it always happens. So when everything goes wrong with every playbook you have in your company, and by growing SaaS, I don't mean companies growing 20, 30% every year. I mean companies growing like 10% per month. When this has happened, all playbooks fail at the same time. And what's the common CEO reaction at this time? Is simply try to fix these playbooks or to improve these playbooks. So when churn is rising up, what the CEO does? Let's hire a new CS team or a new killer CS tool. If you have not enough qualified leads, so to your reps reach the quota, what can you do? Oh, let's add a new AI chatbot to qualify the leads. If the product backlog is skyrocketing, let's hire more engineers. But the cash burn is going to the roof, no problem. Let's look for the next investment round. And if you have not enough leads to meet your growth target, so let's rethink the prospecting playbook. And that's precisely the #1 mistake that the CEOs does. They try to fix all of the problems. I know it sounds crazy in the first moment, but here's the point. Every company has a limited set of money, energy, and attention. And if we split this money, attention, and energy across all problems, you probably won't do the right effort to fix the root cause. Let's suppose you find a solution. This is the root cause, and you find a solution to generate qualified leads with a new prospecting playbook. So you will find new leads to the product that you already have. So you no longer will have a skyrocketing backlog for products. So since you have a more stable product, your churn will no longer be a problem. So you will have more qualified leads. So your reps will reach quota, and you will make more money, and the cash burn will slow down. So it's crazy, but when you fix the root cause, the other problems, they just go away, or they change. They are not real problems. They are only undesirable effects of one, maximum 2 or 3 root causes. And it seems pretty easy, but it isn't. To find the root cause is very tricky. And in these books, Goldratt shows us how to assemble a group analysis session to find out the real root causes, okay? So the only way to make it work is as a group. Everybody in the company, all the leaders in the company must be in the same page. They must understand what is going on, why the company is not willing to fix my issue and is fixing the other issue. They must understand that we are addressing here the root cause, not the undesirable consequence of that root cause. And those books, they talk a lot about metrics. And then we come to the next question. What are the correct metrics to track and to make our decisions and to find our root causes? A good idea is, let's observe what the best SaaS companies are tracking. What do you think about that? Good idea? Yeah, maybe not, because for every dollar an entrepreneur like me does, the observers, the guys who buy and sell stocks, they make $2, at least $2. So investors, they are a group of really smart people observing what really matters in a company. So what about to observe the observers? What metrics those guys are tracking? So here's the set of metrics that most of institutional investors from public SaaS, they are tracking. First, next 12 months growth. It means ARR growth year over year. And the average growth in public SaaS companies is like 31%, but there's a group of top SaaS players. They are named the high growth SaaS players. It's around 60% per year, the recurring revenue growth. Also, operating margin. So it means if a company is making money or losing money. It's not exactly like that, but it's similar to EBITDA, but it tells us if the company is making money or losing money. So as you can see, companies in high growth, they tend to lose money. We will explain this in a couple of minutes. The next unit economic is gross margin. This one is very important. You take your revenue less your costs. I mean, the costs, the direct costs from your services divided by the revenue. So the average for public SaaS companies is like 72%, and those top high growth SaaS companies, they are close to 80%. Net dollar retention. It means how much money you do in current month from your clients active until the last day of the previous month or quarter, whatever. So here's the idea. If you track churn, you will see companies leaving your service. But the real question is, those companies that you already have, they will give you more money or the same amount of money or less money. They are upselling or downselling. And so net dollar retention is a far more complete unit economic than just churn or logo churn. And by the way, people used to play with those unit economics. I heard about voluntary churn. Hey man, what the hell is voluntary churn? So net dollar retention is what matters. CAC payback, as we said before, and the price is the multiple the company that gives the company valuation. So as you can see, for the high growth companies, the multiple is pretty high. Oh, I think I stopped my presentation. Here it is again. 1 second. Yeah. Once again, here we are. Sorry for that. Nah, everything is good again. Here's the price. 15 for the average public SaaS and 34 the multiple, 34 times the current running rate for recurring revenue for in the company. And the next question is, okay, what about growth versus cash burn? Since we work, there's a big fight around playbooks and metrics on growth versus cash burn. And I'm happy to say that maybe there's a solution to balance growth and cash burn. And I introduce you the rule of 40. What is it? Rule of 40 is when you combine your growth rate and your free cash flow. Free cash flow, if you don't have free cash flow, you may use a bit. It's pretty similar. It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty similar. So what it says is, when you add your free cash flow and your growth rates, the result must be over 40%. So let's suppose you are growing 50% per month. So it means you may lose 10%, or you may be 10% cash flow negative every month. So that's the main idea. If you grow like 100%, you can be 60% negative in cash flow. That's the whole idea. And if you search Google for Rule of 40 SaaS, you will find a lot of articles about that, and that's why it's acceptable for you to lose money in companies with a high growth rate. And good news is that the observers, they are already tracking the Rule of 40. This image comes from a blog from one investor, a guy who invests in SaaS companies. So investors, they are already tracking the Rule of 40. And that's it, guys. Hope you enjoy the presentation. And I'm open to questions. We have a few minutes remaining. Okay, if you want this presentation, don't hesitate to drop me an email. My email is this one. Okay, m@omie.com.br. So, hope you guys come out from the session with great insights about how to craft your own playbooks, because there's not a single playbook that can take you across all growth stages unless you craft your own playbook. That's it. So I hand over back to Hadka. Yeah, I think she's not here. Okay. Thank you, guys. See you next time.